Capoeira.
Hello everyone, I hope you are well. Today I'm here to talk about something very important. We all know how important it is to stretch. Not only to be able to do specific movements, but also to be able to train for longer, to make sure it doesn't hurt or ache on the next day. So ideally, you should be stretching every day, or at least every time that you will be doing exercise. But I also know how hard it is to motivate ourselves to do it. But from now on, you don't have the excuse anymore. You're not alone on this. That's why I'm doing this video. Every time that you want to train, or you have finished your train, or you would like to stretch, go to the Capoeira Flow website, find this video, and I'll be stretching with you every step of the way. Full body stretch from the beginning to the end in real time. So let's do it, guys. Let's improve our flexibility and make sure you can carry on training for much longer. Let's do it. Alright, before you start, please go easy. Understand your limits. If holding for 20-30 seconds is too much, you can do it for less until you build it up and the stamina and the confidence with it. So I'm gonna be doing my right leg, my hip flexor, and I'm gonna be bending my front leg forward, keeping my chest up and slowly driving my knee forward in the same direction as my toes. I can bring my hand up if I want to increase the stretch a little bit more, so it becomes a bit more unstable, but you can concentrate the stretch more. The back leg is almost straight. I'm gonna try to extend my leg as much as I can. You might not be able to, but that's the feeling you're gonna be trying to do, extending the back leg and trying to lean forward with your chest up for as long as you can, between 20 to 30 seconds. And I'm gonna carry on stretch my right leg, but now I'm gonna be bending my front leg. It's almost like if you're doing a meio de compasso, if you do capoeira, so you understand the position. And I'm gonna keep my right leg straight as possible. And for me to increase this, I can hold onto my leg or on the trousers and trying to aim to bring my head towards the knee, but always keeping the back leg straight and by almost sitting back as much as I can. Again, 15 to 20 seconds, and then I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side. So chest up, keep driving the knee forward and trying to maintain that back leg almost straight. So you wanna try to keep the tension the front of your hip flexor there. And you can lower yourself every time you get used to that position, but go slow at the beginning. If the first time you're doing this, you might not want to be holding for that long. So 20, 15, 30 seconds is more than enough. And then my left leg, keep it straight, and the leg I have at the front, I'm gonna be bending my knee, bringing my hand in between the legs, and my goal is to potentially bring my head towards my knee, but make sure that back leg is always under tension, is always stretching. So you should feel the stretch at the back of the hamstring, glutes, a little bit of the calves as well. Nice and control. So next we're gonna be doing the sumo squat stretch. Again, don't go so far down at the beginning. Build your flexibility slowly, and when you get your limit, you hold. You can use your arms to make sure your leg doesn't close, and you can kind of hold against your knee, so you can always push a little bit more and hold, and trying to hold for as long as I can, up to 30 seconds or less if it hurts at the beginning. You can repeat the process many times, 2 to 3 times would be ideal. Even if you're doing for shorter time, that's be fine. Okay, we're gonna continue working on stretching the front of the hip, so make sure my hip is in line first, and then I'm gonna be leaning forward. So my back leg is on the floor, so trying to put something underneath the knee to avoid rubbing or hurting, and or a soft surface. So my opposite hand to my front leg, or both hands, can be on the floor. But I'm gonna use this technique to try to increase the stretch. I'm gonna be lifting my heel up, and every time I lower my heel, I'm gonna lower my upper body down. So I go and trying to increase the stretch. So up, and I go down, I release. And if you can time this with your breathing as well, every time I breathe in, I lift my heel. Every time I breathe out, I drop my heel and my upper body, and I hold on that position. Every time I'm gonna go lower, I don't reset that position anymore. And every time I get comfortable with the position, if it's not so uncomfortable, I try to get lower using the same process and then reset. So you can repeat the process more than once if you like. Now the another exercise that I use, make sure you got something nice and comfortable to lay down. I'm gonna be bringing my leg towards my chest. So I hold just below my knee and I'm gonna be pushing my hip in just slightly. And every time I release, I'm gonna bring it in a little bit further. So I push it in. So almost if I'm bringing my hip towards my other leg, but make sure your back's still flat on the floor. Don't twist it. And then you can do this 2 to 3 times, release, and then you do the same thing on the other side. So if I'm doing the other side, so I bring my knee in towards my chest and my hip's gonna go in a little bit, and then as I bring it back, I bring it in again. So you're gonna release slowly some gap and be able to bring your knee closer to the chest. And by doing this, you will increase the range of motion of your hip, so you can when you're doing your other side of the hip flexor, you should be able to go even lower. So you can repeat that more than once. And to do on the other side, same technique as you did first. You're going to be lifting the heel and lowering our upper body every time that I drop my heel. And our goal here is to get as low as possible, eventually to be able to touch both elbows down. So just slowly, gradually keep building it up and hold for between 15-20 seconds, even longer if it's not too uncomfortable. And gradually you will be able to hold it for much longer. And you can repeat the process more than once, it depends on how much time you have. And also trying in between the exercise, loosen up the quads and lower back just by doing some dive bridges, just for a couple of seconds. We're gonna be doing the quads area now. So I'm gonna bring my left leg forward. So if I want to stretch my right, so I can grab my heel on my foot or the trousers if I cannot reach, or you can use a piece of rope or jump or anything like that. So I'm gonna be trying to keep my hip forwards. It's not just about pulling the leg towards your glutes, it's about leaning forward first. So you keep the tension on the front of the leg there, and then you're gonna be holding the back leg. You don't even need to push it too much, the leg. It's all about every time I lean, I'll be increasing the stretch there. Eventually you can even grab with both hands, but you can just use one hand if that's more convenient or if that's easier at the beginning. Sometimes you might not be able to reach the foot. It doesn't matter, you can still feel on that stretch by just holding with one arm, or even if you're holding the trousers. And hold it again. If you can hold for 30 seconds, great, but it might be too much at the beginning, so go easy. And make sure your knee is on something soft as well. So you might want to put like a towel, or you might want to put something that doesn't hurt your knee, or if you have a pad or something soft, one of those yoga blocks is amazing if you have one. I've been doing it on the floor, so I kind of build up a condition for that, but it takes time. If I'm doing on the other side, on my left leg, same idea. I can start with one leg, and remember to keep your hips square on. So my front leg is almost like on a 90-degree to start with, and then eventually I'm going to be leaning forward, but you can see the straight line between my upper body and my leg that's on the floor. If I cannot reach, it's fine, but if you can, you might struggle. You might feel that one side is tighter than the other, so it's normal that you might be able to reach on one side and not on the other. But the more you hold, the longer you hold this, eventually you should be able to even them up. I suggest if there is one side that's tighter than the other, you would start on that side first, so you know how much you'd hold on the other side. On this exercise, again, make sure you have something soft for you, because you're going to be leaning for your knees as well. And one thing that's important, trying to not bring your heel inwards. So see that you either get that 90 degrees angle there, or even bring your foot further that way. For some people, this might hurt on the knee as well, so be careful if it does, don't push it. And you're gonna try almost sit back to make sure you maximize the stretch, don't go forward. Once you get that, all you gotta do is hold, breathe in, breathe out, and every time you can release, you're trying to get a little bit further forward. But just by holding there, if you can hold for 13 seconds, at least is ideal. Some people hold it for a minute or even longer. You're trying to open up that hip there. But it's very uncomfortable at the beginning until you get used to it. but that's going to be a great exercise, a great setup for you to be able to get your box splits eventually. And every time you come out the hold, you can do some quad stretch, quickly sitting on your heels, some dive bridge, and you can repeat this 2 to 3 times would be ideal. Another way to work on your box splits is doing from standing. You can slowly slide your foot down, keep them flat on the floor. If you can reach with the elbows, nice. But if you can't, you can just keep your arms straight there. And every time you get used to the position, you slide a little bit more. Keep breathing in, breathe out, and then you slide a bit more. And keep holding this for as long as you can, ideally 30 or even longer. But at the beginning, if it's too uncomfortable, you can do less until you'll be able to hold it for much more. Make sure your legs always straight, your feet is flat on the floor, and keep holding for as much as you can. The next phase is I'm gonna try to keep my legs open and gradually sit down, nice and control one arm at a time by holding my weight with my arm. And when I sit down, ideally, I want to keep my leg under that tension. So that's why this was at the maximum I could go. So that's why I want to hold that tension there. So, and gently you're going to start to move side to side so you can create some movement and release a little bit of your hip. Then do some circles around as well without the hand or with the hand. The hand will be a bit easier because you're supporting parts of the way there, but trying to keep that leg nice and wide. And if you should be able to release a little bit more on the hip again, and keep doing those circles for a bit longer. Once I can create some gap on my hip and it's not so uncomfortable, I'm gonna try to lower myself down. And when you're trying to lower yourself down, try not to arch your back, trying to get your head down to the floor. That's not the idea. Ideally, you're gonna try to keep your back as nice and straight as possible to go down. Of course, that takes time. And one technique that I always use, I shift my weight to one side, not just the shoulder, and then lower myself. So I shift, and every time I come back, I release a little bit more gap, and then I can go lower and down. Once I reach my limit, I will hold there, keep breathing in and out, and always maintain my hand on the floor. And I'll just hold there for as long as I can, and eventually that pain becomes a bit more bearable, and you'll be able to go even lower. Some people hold this for like a minute or even longer. The more you can hold, the more you're reaching up, the more you are open up that hip there, and the more benefit you have. But of course, bear in mind that if you're doing this for the first time or you're not used to stretch that much, it will be very uncomfortable, and you don't want to overdo it. Make sure you know your limit. If it's hurting too much, you can always pause, reset, and do for 3-4 times per shorter period, and you can repeat as much as you want. And then again, my leg is still under tension. I haven't released that yet. So at the first time you're doing this, you might want to just do like 10-15 seconds, because the longer you can hold that tension, the better. To go to my side, my goal is to try to get my head towards my knee, but not just by bending the head. I'm going to try to lower my chest as well. At the beginning, if you can reach your toes, you're going to hold onto your leg, to your trousers, wherever it is, but the idea is not go back. And again, keep doing this as long as you can, and you're gonna do on the other side, same idea. So I loosen up a little bit, and I'm trying to face square onto my leg. If I can't reach my toes, I'm gonna grab on my legs. If I can grab on my heel or something. My goal is to lower my chest, not just my head. And if you create some gap, you can try to reach for your foot, and if you can grab your foot, you're gonna try and grab both hands together, so my chest can go even lower, and you're also stretching part of your shoulder there and keeping everything straight, and make sure your legs is straight at that point. Hold it for 30 seconds ideally. I try to hold 30 seconds on each side, but you might not be able to do this at the beginning, or if you can, you hold it for longer. The more you hold, the better and the greater the stretch is. But again, understand your limits and don't push it too hard at the beginning. Again, I'm gonna try to, if you do that for the second time, which I suggest you do, you're gonna see that you're much more loose, and you can already bring the hips forward a bit more. And with the same technique, by leaning to one side and pushing forward, I'd be able to almost be able to sit flat with my chest down, or getting as low as possible. If you can hold for another 30 seconds, or even do a gap in between, is up to you. Go very easy, build up, and understand how far you can go. But this is what I normally do, I go from one to the other, but I haven't been stretched for a long time. Sometimes after a while you lose at everything, but after doing this twice, I should be able to go much lower than my first time. So you can see that you're always creating the flexibility there and building up. And to come back nice and gently, to close the leg is painful to close the leg. Once more, I do this set twice in a row, at least. But in the second time, because I'm a little bit more flexible on my hip, I can then try to do this other version where if I'm leaning to my left leg, my right arm is gonna be going over my head, and I got one arm going to the opposite direction of my head to force myself to go even lower. And I try to grab with the top leg again, toes if you can. If you cannot reach the toes, trousers, heels, wherever you can at the beginning, and just hold there for as long as you can. I would suggest, if you can, after a while, if you can do 30 seconds, will be great. But go easy and less at the beginning, understand. And then you do the same thing on the other side. So every time I come back and I'm gonna change, I'm already feeling more loose on my hip, so I can go a bit further and I can go straight from the top. If you're not that flexible, if you can't reach, you just go bring the arm across your face so you can go straight to your leg to hold. I prefer to hold on to something because it's very easy, especially when you get something uncomfortable. You can just release the pain, the stretch. If you're holding to something, you're not gonna let go, and you can hold for a bit longer. And you can repeat the process if you cannot hold for that longer, for like 30 seconds. So you can always do like 2 or 3 times of 10 seconds until you get used to it. Now that we're working on the front, the box split, now we're gonna try to work on the front split, or some techniques for that. So I normally start on my toes, and again, I'm trying to get something that's soft, so eventually you're gonna be putting your leg on the floor, and also something, if you can, is slide even better, but always having the support of your arm there. So I can see my back legs on my toes. My leg is as straight as it can be for me. Some of you might have even straighter, some of you need to bend a little bit more, but try to go as far as you can when you feel that tension there on your hip and on the back of the hamstring on the front leg as well. And the other, normally I do 20 seconds with my toes, and then I turn to the side, but very careful with your knee. So make sure you're always holding the weight on your arm there. Don't just try to hold on that position because it's very uncomfortable on your knee. And after 20 seconds, I can then put my leg down, trying to get my hip straight, and then do the front one as well. By then you probably have loosened up the hip even more, and you should be feeling the stretch even more on the front leg, on the front of the hamstring and everything there. And what I do, I keep my both hands down, and every time I breathe out, I try to move my hand further forward. The first time that I do this, I might not get so low, but I normally repeat 2 to 3 times at least. On the second time, I'm getting closer, almost to getting the front split. But again, go easy and understand your limits. The next exercise I do straight after that, I do for the glutes. So it's almost, you do the S shape, and then you can just progress from there. I normally use my arm to block my foot so my foot doesn't keep sliding back up, and I'm gonna try to lower my chest as low as I can. What I do, I shift to one side and then lower myself. So I use that technique. As I shift, I come back. I use my other arm. In that case, I'm using my left arm to shift my weight. Once I find my limit there, I try to rest for 30 seconds at least. But also, if you need to do less, do less. Also, this is another progression you can do. You want to keep the back leg straighter. So I lift myself, and then I keep that front leg still on the 9-degree angles, and use the same technique, shifting to one side and push it down. This you should feel more the stretch than the other one. So for those that has already a great range of flexibility, this probably be best for you. For me, I'll build it up from one to the other and hold there for at least 30 seconds before I go and stretch my other leg. So now that I've done my glutes on that side, so I'm gonna go and do the front splits stretch there. Again, my back leg on my toes first, everything facing forward, hold there for at least 20 seconds, and then I do 20 seconds with my foot turn, and very careful on the knees. Most of my weights are supported from my arm there, so you can gradually progress from that. The first time, it takes time, I don't go so low. After done this once at least, and doing the glute stretch, I can get below. And then now I turn my hip, so you can get flexible and increase your flexibility in any direction. But be careful with this, the knees, there's a lot pressure on the knees there if you don't support your weight on the arm. And then I go back to the front, but now I lay my foot completely on the floor. Ideally trying to do this on a yoga mat or something soft so it doesn't hurt your knee. And every time I breathe out, I try to bring my hand further forward. And the goal is actually to sit completely with the hip straight, but it takes time, and make sure you understand your limits there. I try to do 20 seconds on each hold, or 30 seconds as well, and then repeat that process twice at least. And then I go to my glute stretch on that side again. I choose the easy verse first. I always build it up, I do the S shape, and then as you can see here, I use my arm to shift one side, bring it back, and then lower myself. My other arm, my left arm on that case, is holding my leg on that 90 degrees before I can reach my limit, and then I try to rest there. If you can reach, you just rest and try to take off all the weight that's supporting your upper body to be able to lay on top of that leg. And then I go into the next the progression, which is getting my leg completely flat on the floor and extend my back leg a little bit more, and always trying to keep my hip square, my chest is square onto my hip, and that front leg straight on that 90-degree angle there, and using the same technique to lower myself. If you cannot go as far, you can just wait and stop where it's comfortable for you and hold there, and then just get used to that stretch, and then you can always release a bit more. I normally hold for 30 seconds, but it's up to each one to adapt, and you can just repeat that process again if you can. And then from there I just go and release a little bit of my back as well, and doing some dive bridges. And then I'm gonna make my way, I'm gonna try to bring my chest as close as I can to my leg, but keep my feet flat and straight, my leg straight. And the closer I get, once I get as far as I can go, and then I'm gonna go to one side, lift. In that case, I'm stretching my left leg, so I lift my right leg and get my head in between my arms, almost trying to get my head touching my knee, or that's the intention that I have. So, and then I shift to the other side. Again, I normally hold for 20 seconds, or if it's too tight, I hold for 10, and do that twice or 3 times. And once you get used to it, you can just release and gently, slowly walk up. Then we're gonna go to the lower back and the back to stretch. So we're gonna do the bridge. So I get my fingers facing my shoulder as close as I can, and then I'm gonna try to push up. You note at the beginning you might not be able to lift too much off the ground, but it's fine. If you can hold, or as much as you can hold, if you can hold for 5-10 seconds, you do it, and then you repeat the process. The more you repeat, the more flexibility you increase, and then you'll be able to lift a little bit longer. If that hurts your back, is too uncomfortable, don't push it, just do the dive bridge and just hold there until you can. So very careful on this. If you have any past injuries, just go easy on this. And lift and hold. Once you get comfortable to that hold there for over 10 seconds, the next step is get your hand as close as you can to your feet. Just keep repeating. And then from there we're going to stretch the shoulder. So I'm going to bring my shoulder across and pushing toward as much as I can. I hold for 15-20 seconds, you can see on the side here. And then I'll just release and do to the other side. And if it's too tight, I just repeat that 2 or 3 times. And once I've done that, I grab my elbow over my head and make sure I keep looking forward, and I use my head to kind of make sure my shoulder is not is stretched. And again, 15-20 seconds, 2 to 3 times. Another exercise that I use for my shoulder is to be able to, if you can't grab both hands at the back, I can't, so what I normally use, I use a towel. In that case, I got jumper here, so I'm going to just use the jumper so you can see it. So just grab one hand on the top, and with the jump I'll be able to reach from the side, and I use the top arm to pull my shoulder as much as I can, and I'll just hold it there for a good 15-20 seconds again. If that's too uncomfortable, do it less and you can build it up. I find this great if you're too tight on the shoulder, and eventually can build up the strength there so you can push as high as you can, and you just repeat that if you can. Now on the neck, I'm gonna put my neck on one side and I'm gonna extend my other arm away from it, keep my arm straight, and you're gonna increase the tension every time that you lower your arm. The lower it gets, the more tension you have. Then you loosen up a little bit the neck before you do to the other side. So I put my neck down and gently just extend my arm and slowly dropping my arm, and should increase the tension on the neck as my arm's getting lower to my hip. And once you release the neck, just move from shoulder to shoulder, circling a little bit, and you should be nice and relaxed now. Thank you very much, everyone. This is it, and thanks for staying to the end. See you soon. Thanks for watching, and I really hope you liked this video. If you did, hit the like button below. If you didn't, let me know in the comment how I can improve. Also tell me what type of videos you'd like to see next. If you haven't subscribed to our channel, please do, and I see you on the next one.